On the previous episode of Would I Rebuy This Guitar, I talked about the Troublemaker Telecaster. And in that video, I referenced the guitar I'm going to talk about today. It's a Fender Cabronita. Now many years ago, when the Mexican reissues were made, I think it was around 2015, I saw Z's Allens had these guitars on a clearance. I had one in the Candy Apple Red, as you can see. And it was like 350 bucks shipped, so I bought one of them, and I love the look of the Cabronita. To this day, I think it's, outside of a double bound traditional Telecaster with a rosewood board, the Cabronita is my favorite variation aesthetically. And the guitar came, it had the satin neck, the 22 frets, and it had the same kind of problems that I got with a lot of Mexican Fenders. The electronics were not very good on it. The switching was pretty atrocious, if I'm honest. I had to replace the switch almost straight away, and this was a brand new guitar. The pots were really scratchy. Even a little bit of deoxit didn't entirely help the problem, and maybe they've improved the components nowadays, but kind of started to leave a really bad taste of made in Mexico Fender quality as far as that part of it goes. The neck felt really good. It was a little bit beefier. I had a Baja Telecaster 60s at the same time as this that I really like that guitar. That was a good value, but we'll get into that later. However, with this guitar, it was really decent at mid-level gain, and the band that I was playing with at the time, that was it. It was really surfy, but I used a lot of edge with it, and the guitar worked really well for that. But the cleans on the guitar, I think it had the blacktop Filtertrons, or whatever they were called at the time. They were supposed to look like TV Jones's, but they were not TV Jones pickups. And clean, they left a lot to be desired, quite frankly. I didn't know how much of it was down to the other electrical components inside the guitar, those pickups themselves, or just me being so used to using a Telecaster, because it's always been my mainstay, it's always been a Tele, that I didn't really care for those pickups. I ended up selling that guitar on for a profit a little while after it was discontinued, and I always thought to myself, one day, if the right one comes around and it's either Japanese or American, then maybe I'll rebuy it. Fast forward 4 years, and I did rebuy that guitar. The American version, they had a Fender special run. And right when this shutdown started, there was a local shop here. They're still open now. It's called Top 40 Guitars in Santee, which is a suburb in San Diego, California. And they were kind of panicking because obviously everything was getting shut down and all of their business was about to be in gigantic jeopardy. Little did they know they were going to end up just fine and move a ton of used stuff. I still think they have like nothing in stock to this day. However, they had a really good deal. $700 below MSRP for a brand new Cabronita in Lake Placid blue and a matching headstock. And this was right when I was really starting to get into the idea of doing YouTube too, and also the idea of professionally kind of buying and reselling guitars, which I've since gotten a lot more into. But I saw it, I knew that Fender special runs were always a safe bet, and I bought it. Now, my first impressions of this guitar before I plugged it in, I loved the neck. I don't know what Fender does differently from Fender Mexico to Fender America as far as how they finish the satin on the necks themselves, but my God, there's a big difference. That neck felt so much better. The frets were rolled the fingerboard was rolled really nicely. It was a very comfortable neck, and it played flawlessly. Once I plugged it in, problems reared their head. Not the problems I was expecting, and not something you want to see on a guitar that regularly retails for $18.99. Switch was trash. Same exact problem the Mexican Fender had. Pots were scratchy. Same exact problem the Mexican Fender had. Used deoxit on the pots. It actually cleaned those up just fine, but that switch was not, it wasn't reliable. It simply wasn't. And at the time, there were no other shops open, and nobody was really shipping anything that small, and I didn't want to make a big order at the time for spare parts because I had no need. So I wasn't about to spend $15 or $20 to have a switch shipped to me, so it never got replaced. As far as the tones go, cleans, if you're going to talk about comparing to Filtertrons, versus comparing the real TV Jones that come in that guitar, it's not even close. The TV Jones pickups were phenomenal clean. It was a really, really, really nice tone, and it was unique. It kind of reminds me more of the Gretsch, which is obviously what it's going for, than a normal Telecaster. But it kind of had a little bit more of thickness than I was expecting, and was certainly a lot better than the Mexican variant. Now with gain, it actually fattened up really well. Those pickups, those are great pickups, and regardless of what I'm going to say about the guitar itself, the Cabronita, those TV Jones pickups, man, if you've never tried a set of those, oof, definitely give them a shot. They're obviously not going to be something for high gain players or anything kind of like that, but if you want a little bit of gain, you want a unique jangle, try a Cabronita or Cabronita style guitar. You might really, really be surprised. And one thing that had nothing to do with how this guitar played, but I really loved it. I loved the way they did the finish on this Fender Special One. You had the Lake Placid Blue on top, but then you had the natural wood. And then there was also the binding that was also a kind of wood color on the sides. So it was kind of like a three-piece layer of a cake on the guitar itself. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous instrument, and I liked it a lot. I just didn't like it enough to keep it forever. So I waited until there were no more new ones available on Reverb, because the great guitar boom happened, as you already know. I saw that I could make about $400 on it, so I sold it. So the question of would I rebuy this guitar? I already rebought it once, but I wouldn't buy a Fender version. It really left a bad taste in my mouth. Having a guitar that after tax would have been $2,000 normally have the kind of issues that it did. And I know these things happen, and I know one-offs happen too. But on that exact guitar, the Mexican one, I had the same problems. And if I was going to do a Cabronita again, I'd do my own kind of custom build of it and go from there. That's just me. But would I rebuy a Fender Cabronita? Nah, I don't think I would. Gorgeous instrument though. Absolutely gorgeous. I still, when I look at them, it makes me want them. But then I remember my experiences with both of them, and I say, nah, you're good where you are, man. You're good. And that's going to wrap up week 10. That's 70 days ago of would I rebuy this guitar. Man, time really is going fast. If you like what I'm doing, please leave me a like. I really do appreciate it. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you've had quality control issues, because I know Gibson catches the most crap here as far as that stuff goes from the factory, but I haven't had the best luck with American Fender. So, I mean, the old stuff, fantastic, but as far as the new stuff in the last few years, not the best luck. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow for a new start for a new week of new gear contact. That's a lot of new. I will see you guys then. Take care.